to the action. So thanks very much, guys. Best of luck to everybody tonight. But time now for the first of our 4 races with our commentary team of Dave Towell and Hannah Walker.
Welcome to the infamous Queens Highway as we are here for what will be the ultimate showdown. Dave Towell being joined by Hannah Walker. Hannah, I've never felt this much intensity or pressure heading into a race. Let's talk about the format that we have because it's going to go very quickly out here. It's almost like we're jumping into the most important race of the year for the Zwift Academy. As the breakaway is formed, we're down to 5 riders. Only one of them gets to lick their plate clean. So, Hannah, let's talk about the format for the racing out here today first.
Well, we certainly have. It's very intense, and there's, the stakes are very high for what's on offer. Here in Yorkshire on the Queen's Highway, 15.25 kilometres and 5 intermediate sprints. Points on offer across those sprint arches for 3, 2 and 1, and double points on the finish line. It's going to be a full gas between these 5 riders.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the racing that we have here today. As I said, we're going to get right after. It's going to be a Donnybrook with sprints coming up every 3 kilometers or so. As Hannah mentions, we'll be scoring them. Ultimately, the top points will have a significant step forward in the quest to sign a pro contract with Alpecin Phoenix. We'll have the women racing out on the same course with the same format here in Yorkshire in a minute. But really, really exciting to get to this point. But it becomes the proving grounds now, Hannah. There's nowhere to hide. You don't have a team around you to support you. It really comes down to either you have it or you don't. These riders have got to be exhausted with what they've been through up to this point. It has been no easy road to get to Harrogate.
It certainly hasn't. And if we look at what they've had to endure throughout this week, just to get to this point to be a Zwift Academy finalist, they had an outdoor ride on Monday, then another one on Tuesday immediately before an Amstel Gold final hour. Then on Wednesday they had a Zoom speed dating with all the teams, their potential teammates. Then Thursday they had a DS challenge where they had to follow the call on the road from their sports director in their ear. And then last night they had an exceptionally hard out to Zwift. And today, 2 races, this race around Harrogate and then later on the time trial in Bologna.
We had so much fun with the Zwift Racing League. This format has become pretty common as far as the points racing, although what we're doing here with 5 riders, and let's start identifying who you're looking at here. Really, at first, I would point to 2 riders that have really stood out. Jay Vine, the 25-year-old out of Canberra, Australia, and then the Belgian rider, Lionel Viasa. They're really at such an interesting point in both of their careers. They kind of cover the whole spectrum from one end to the other. We also have the Dutch rider, Joachim Kerkaert. He's 20 years old, the youngest of the men. We're get a good look at them all together right now because we will have that first sprint coming up. Damien Clayton and Ollie Moores both racing out of the United Kingdom. Ollie is 24-year-old out of Brighton. He's a 4-time national champion, Hannah was telling me, in the Derby. He's got some experience, and I think that might help in this format here. You really are exposed, as we said. And then Damien Clayton, who's really gone all in at 28 years old, the former architect that is completely committed to this task at hand, which is getting a pro contract. And that's what it's all about. A little bit of a split maybe happening here. So, Hannah, let's talk to the pictures. Only 1.2K in. As you mentioned, it's right around 15K of racing. What's imperative here is remembering that these sprints, it's not about a solo win here. Isn't necessarily going to take the cake. It's going to be the compilation of points. And Hannah, this first sprint is going to tell us a lot. I've seen Lionel Viasa out racing in the Zwift community quite a bit. The guy knows how to finish a sprint, that's for sure.
Yeah, he certainly does. And as you can see here, each of the rider has their own jersey on. The rider with the yellow and black kit, just rolling off the front there very nicely, Jay Vine. He's in the front here. In the green kit, we've got Ollie Moores. In the blue Zwift kit with the blue, white and black kit, that's Damien Clayton. Lionel Viasa in the orange jersey and Joachim Kerkaert in the red and black jersey. So just to identify who is who.
I was talking before the show with you about Dr. Doolittle, which is sort of a Lionel Vyazant's jam. As we've got to know the riders throughout this, and I have to comment that Matt Stevens has done such a tremendous job of helping bring out the personality in these riders. And that's a part of this process here, is getting to know them. Will they be a good fit with, in the men's case, the Alpecin Phoenix team? Will they be directly put into the performance program, or for the women Canyon SRAM? But so personality does matter. It's certainly not everything. I was thinking, Hannah, you're never going to talk your way into a Pro Tour ride, but you could talk your way out of it. That's for sure. So it's a really fun game. Look at this, though. The pressure is on right now. Let's take a look at what we've got, because this is obviously a play for the points, and it scores 3, 2, and 1. 4 times in a row, and then double points at the finale. Let's see what we've got here, Hannah. They're just about half, let's say 500 meters away.
They certainly are, just coming up to the line. Damien Clayton opened that up very, very early, but Vyazant timing it to perfection. Just looks like he nabbed that on the line ahead of Jonas Kirkhardt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Ollie Moores is going to get up there. We'll take a look. It is Ollie Moores scoring the final point. So looking at the table now, we'll be doing this 3 more times before we go into the grand finale. But that's a statement there from Lionel Vyazant, the Belgian rider. So I was talking about he and Jay Vine. They've done a really good job with all of the events and rides that they've done together. They have both split as far as the racing goes, each taking a win and a second place. So when you look at it from that real straight ahead metric, they're pretty even there. Jay, 25 years old, he and his wife Bree have been actively racing on Zwift and a big part of the community down in Australia. And it's interesting to see, at 25, he's gone all in as well on this dream of being a pro cyclist. Where Lionel Vyazant, little more experience. He's, I wouldn't say completely on the other end of the spectrum, but, he's into his 30s now, young 30s to be fair. But the Belgian has a little more in real life mileage on him, I would say. But that mileage comes with experience as well. So as we probably want to score at home here, because Lionel Vyazant now with this 3-point advantage, that really puts some pressure on Jay here. Hannah, you've done some racing on the velodrome as well. You know how with these points racing, you can't let this range out too much on you, right? If Lionel takes top points again and you don't score, all of a sudden it's almost impossible to make those points up.
It does, and having to leave it too late until the back end of the race, leaves it to chance. Are you leaving it on that you get double points on the line, on the finish line? But I think the confidence for Lionel Vyazant just to have those points on the board ahead of Jay Vine right now, that must be a good feeling. It gives you that confidence booster. However, in a points race, as we know from seeing it either on the velodrome or how these races play out with the points coming in quick succession, what is the recovery like for these riders? How are they able to recover from making these intense efforts and make them repeatedly?
Absolutely. That's really the name of the game, and that's something that, when you talk about it, the experience that Ollie Moores has racing on the velodrome as well, that's what track racing is all about, the ability to come back every half hour. In this case, it's every few minutes, but making those massive efforts and how quickly can you recover, and we're going to see. So Lionel Vyazant, again, is the rider in the orange jersey. He's the Belgian. Watching for him, it was nice to see when you look at how the other guys are contesting in the mix. Ollie and Damien Clayton both racing out of the United Kingdom. Ollie at 24 years old. It's going to be interesting to see if Lionel goes back to back here. That's more than a statement at that point. That's an exclamation point that he's putting on the race here. So it's not a lot of distance here, and no one is going to get dropped out of this group. They've already proven that, Hannah, haven't they? I mean, if you're at this level, I wouldn't expect, I guess the tactic would be, if you were incredibly strong, to take a flyer late in the race. I don't see that happening. These guys are going to nail anything back.
Definitely not, and I think with the 5, the focus really is on these riders. They be watching each other. There isn't really a point where I think they will get dropped. They've not got it into this final You know, they're all 5 considerably talented riders, and I think now, you know, it's just about recovering in between these 2 sprints as we start to roll into the next intermediate sprint. Damien Clayton again wanting to open up that early lead. Jay Vine wants to get onto his wheel. Clayton drops that lightweight feather, and Vyazin just sitting tight on Jay Vine's wheel there as he comes alongside him, head to head.
He's got it. Yeah, it looks like Vyazin's got it here. And there you go. Lionel Vyazin in full effect, Hannah. So that's going to be back-to-back wins here. We're almost halfway through this race now, and he's got in a command performance mode, no doubt about it. So, okay, now Lionel's got to be feeling a little bit chuffed. As a matter of fact, this is where you look at the tactics. That's going to be critical. This split back, I think that's partly why Lionel's not easing up right now, is he wants to keep these guys under pressure. And you can see a little bit of a split happening at the back of the group. So I know they're going to fight back, but not a good situation. Sub-ideal, Hannah, right now as we look at the riders regrouping after the second sprint. There's the point, 6, so perfect score right now for the Belgian Vyazin. He's certainly making his case here in our points race. Kerkart there, now up to 3 points. Jay Vine scores, though. He'll get second on that sprint. That's significant that at least he's up on the table now, Hannah.
Yeah, at least he's got some points on the scoreboard. Damien Clayton on both of those intermediate sprints has gone early and consequently not scored any points. Over the top of that intermediate sprint, the previous one, he's taken the gamble now. He wants to go for a long one. He's attacked them. He's got a 2.3 second gap over the other 4 riders, and just biding his time there. He wanted to open up the gap, didn't want to go with the intensity, didn't score any points, but found that opportunity over the top and extended the lead to 4.3 seconds now. So where is the chase going to come from behind? Because no rider wants to drag the whole group along with them.
Right, so if you look at it, remembering that there's double points available for the final sprint here, meaning that there's 6 on the table, this is going to be really, really interesting here. Hannah, I've never commentated on a race quite like this, and I'm going to say that the racers have never done a race like this. It's part of what's so cool and unique about the Zwift Academy. Is think about, you know, how exposed you are lining up with 4 other racers with this points format. You never get a place to hide. You can't rely on any teammates to chase anything back. You got to make some snap decisions out there, and obviously this group of 4 right now is the place to be.
Yeah, you certainly do, and you have to think as well, you're so exposed to the people making the decision of who's going to win this professional contract with Alpecin Fenix. They'll be looking at these riders, they'll be able to see all the numbers. As you said, they've not got any teammates to work with or lead them out to sit within a peloton and draft along. Here you are completely exposed as to your power, your talent, how you race, how you're able to respond to the tactical side of the racing as well. And I think this is something crucially that the management will be looking at with these riders.
Absolutely. You know, a big part of being a pro is being able to handle pressure day after day. And I got to say, this is such a process here. Any rider who commits to Zwift Academy, you are brave. And by the time you make it into this group, that takes real courage, because you are literally the man or woman in the arena, Hannah, where you have thousands and thousands of people who are fans of this type of racing who are watching. You're being judged by thousands of people. If you fail here, you don't get to do it like I do at home in my living room where no one else cares. These guys know that the world is watching. There's pressure on these riders, and I have a tremendous amount of respect. Again, that man in the arena concept. If you are out here racing, you don't have to worry about the criticism from those that just watch from the sidelines, because they're not the ones that are making the races. This is going to be interesting now. Is how do you beat Lionel Vyazin? Well, you're going to have to start taking some sprint points away from him, not letting him take maximum bonification every time through, Hannah. Obviously, that's the name of the game.
It certainly is. Damien Clayton's lead, interestingly, had just gone from 17 seconds When Kirkard opened up his effort there to go for a long one, that gap has made considerable cut down to 5 seconds. Vyazin, and we get a confirmation of the points on the left side. Vine with the 2, Vyazin with the 1.
Watch
so
this.
It's closing up at the top, but Vyazin still leading.
Yeah, he is still leading, and it's actually not a bad position to be in, because what happens now, Hannah, is you start running out of real estate, right? There's after we completed now the 3rd of 5 sprints, double points for the final. That means then that there's 6 points left if Jay Vine wins the next 2. But that means he's shutting out, and you can't control what other riders do out there. So this is where, in a points race at the velodrome, you would hear the directors or the coaches saying, you now control your destiny if you're Lionel Vyazin. He's the only rider then that if he can get up and score in the next 2 sprints, all he has to do is get 2/3, and he's going to be really, really hard to beat. So Vyazin doing a great job, but you know what? Jay Vine is not done. He is slugging away out there. And got to give Damian Clayton some credit. This is the best ride that he has had up to this point during Zwift Academy. So he's had a 4th and a 3rd so far. This is better than that. It really is. Right now, he is punching above his weight. We talked about Jay Vine, Lionel Vyazin, the Australian and the Belgian rider, but I like this guy out of Barnsley, Sheffield, United Kingdom. He's making his mark out here today. Good for you, Damian.
He certainly is, and you can see the hunger that, you know, the way he's having to race, and just look at the effort in picture-in-picture here of Ollie Moores, trying to get back onto the wheel of Lionel Vyazin, just 1 second back. He's starting to close that in, but it shows the real effort that these riders have to put in to just stay in. You know, there might not be a peloton. We've only got single draft on here, you know, as we would in other races, but Ollie Moores making that considerable effort to get back into contention. And speaking of Damian Clayton, back to his story, he's an ex-architect who gave up his house and his job in London. He moved back home to pursue his dream of winning or being a professional cyclist. So it just shows how much these riders want this professional contract here with the Zwift Academy.
I give him all the credit in the world for completely committing, Hannah. You know, here's the thing. Lionel Vyazin now has 2 cracks at it, 2 more sprints here. But if he can go ahead and get up to 2nd place in this sprint, he's playing with the house's money at that point. He is in an incredibly good situation. We're going to be going to Bologna a little bit later. So we'll have the women racing out here in Yorkshire, and then we'll go into our very cool time trial format. Really excited for that. So that's something to look forward to. But now we're into it, the business end for our men. Damian Clayton has made a statement out here today in Harrogate. It's out on Queens Highway. This is not for the weak of heart. It's going to be interesting, though, to see what happens right behind as well. These points are going to tell us a lot.
Well, Damian's physiological attributes, he's got a high aerobic and threshold power, so it's a great indication of how big of an engine he's got. You know, he's a fantastic time trial. He's got these high numbers, so obviously it suits him better to go for this high power for a long range of time, as opposed to making these short, sharp, intense efforts in the points race, as we can see that Lionel Vyazin is fantastic at making. It looks like, again, he's just picked up another 2 points under that sprint banner.
I think that this is intense. The intense racing here suits Vyazin today, as he's so well versed in the techniques required to win sprints on this platform. I mean, Lionel Vyazin has been contesting these high-level sprints for the better part of the last couple of years, week in, week out, and he is now, this is his race. As Vyazin looks like Jay Vine getting up there, trying to make a run at it, but they are running out of real estate here. It's about 15K of racing. Then final sprint is double points, so you start doing the math. Jay Vine's going to need to win that final sprint and get Vyazin further back than 2nd. So it's doable. It's still possible, but Jay Vine's going to need some help, Hannah. So there's no technique that you could rely on here. It's just going to come down to grinta, pure guts out here for Jay Vine. It's not over, that's for sure, but he's going to have to make a Superman type move out here in the final few kilometers, as this one is going to wind up very, very quickly. Boy, what do you think, Hannah? Can Jay Vine get right out of his skin here and shock the Zwift Academy world, as the Belgian is so savvy? But the points up the road
He's so
now
savvy.
with
It certainly is, but just look at that, how Clayton, he went over the top of the riders. Vyazin just controlling that, bringing Clayton back very slowly without making any, with a concerted effort. He's not panicking. He can just see how in control Vyazin is. He is the 2019 Belgian Zwift champion. He raced in the Esports World Championships on Zwift a couple of weeks ago, where he finished 6th. So it just shows how accustomed he is with this platform on Zwift, but also tactically his knowledge of how to race and read a bike race.
Yeah, he's a real character as well. One of those larger-than-life figures. Lionel is just, there's a lot going on in his world. He's a lifestyle, is a good way to put it. Go back if you have a chance after all the racing is done, and if you haven't seen the amazing YouTube videos that they've produced about our riders, I think you'll really enjoy his personality. That's going to be the Australian Jay Vine, flogging himself like a rented mule up on the front. But look at this, it's body blow after body blow now as Vyazin responds. So it's going into the next level here, a little more than 1K until this one is done and dusted. It's certainly going to be Jay Vine looking to pull a rabbit out of the hat here. Vyazin taking matters into his own hands now as he clamps down the front. Again, Lionel Vyazin, this has been a command performance for the Belgian out here today. This has gone by so quickly, and, well, it looks like now they're going to settle in for one final sprint. Double points coming up here for the final.
Well, who's going to make the first move with 1.2 kilometers to go? It's getting very cagey now between these four riders. Joachim Kergaard is 20 seconds in arrears right now, but between the four riders out front, Vyazin, Vine, Clayton and Moors, Vyazin obviously very, very confident to lead this one out. He wants to go from the front. He doesn't want to have to come from the back and take the chance that he's got space to make up.
He named his pet duck Gilbert, out of Philippe Gilbert, honoring the great Belgian cyclist. Well, he's going to channel his inner Philippe here. I have a feeling this is a statement sprint for Lionel Vyazin, Hannah. I'm going to predict that he wins this sprint. He doesn't have to win it to win the race here. It is a points race. It's going to be an attack early, and that might catches everybody off guard. Well, all right, this one is paid. The final finish line here. And it looks like Jay Vine, oh boy. So that was the sprint line. We'll have the finish coming up here. Certainly looking good for Jay Vine.
It certainly is. Only 500 meters until the finish.
There's the arch right there. You can see now the big windup is coming. Good timing for this move. It looks like everybody's out of power-ups at this point. Here comes Vyazin. No, he wasn't. I apologize. He will deploy it, and Lionel Vyazin, the king of Yorkshire. Wow, what an outstanding performance. He wins 3 of the 5 sprints, including the final, Hannah. Lionel Vyazin, outstanding out here today.
Exceptional there. Jay Vine with the 4, Ollie Moores with the 2, but Vyazin obviously played the penultimate sprint that he knew he wanted to make sure he consolidated the double points at the finish line and have the legs left. He had that all-important aero power-up as well, and as we get the overall confirmation of the points, Dave.
As they say, a little bit louder for those in the back of the room, and that's what Lionel Vyazin wanted to do, was emphasize the ride he had today, winning the final sprint there. Makes it clear that he was the man of the hour. So congratulations to the Belgian, Lionel Vyazin. Jay Vine, he fought, no doubt about it. He'll end up with 13 points in second. Ollie Moores in third. Damien Clayton up on the board with 4 points. And you can see everybody at least got up there and scored some points as Joachim Kerkart ends up in 5th. So that's going to do it for the men here in Yorkshire. Let me throw it back to Matt in the Academy studio.
Well, thanks very much indeed, Dave. What a race that was. I'm going to have a chat with Christophe and Philippe again. Well, that was almost like a boxing match. I mean, Christophe first. What did you learn from that? Because that had everything. It had an attack. It had riders coming back. Really, really exciting. What did you learn from that?
Yeah, it was a very exciting effort from all the guys. They all scored points, so that means they're all quite close to each other. I saw a quite smart Damien. We know that he has a big aerobic engine and power, so he tried some kind of TT effort. He tried to surprise the guys. I think that was a good effort. Unfortunately, it didn't went to the end. And then we had two strong guys, Jay and Lionel, who are really close to each other. And you see that Lionel has definitely the really high punch qualities to finish it off and to resist the fatigue, because every sprint was very close to another. It was just a couple of minutes in between. So very, very strong punch effort of Lionel.
Thanks very much indeed. And Philippe, just to get a view from you as well, I mean, the amount of punishment that Lionel was taking there, it's the kind of very similar sort of attributes you'd need to ride in Flanders on the small bergs.
Indeed it is, and I must say I was expecting a duel between these two, but in fact Lionel overclassed everyone else, and it's impressive to see how he performed. Damien Clayton showed a lot of mental strength, in my opinion, by trying again and again, but he has put a lot of effort in eventually ending up 4th, but it shows his dedication in wanting to get this final ticket.
Thanks very much indeed, gents. I'll be speaking to you a little bit later on. But, well, absolutely fantastic racing. That really was a great start to tonight. So congrats to Lionel and Jay for those outstanding performances. So, guys, make sure you all take a nice, well-deserved rest before your final race coming up later in the show. And what I will do now is leave the riders with these thoughts. Just remember, one of you will have your lives changed forever tonight. One of you is going to make it pro with Alpecin Phoenix, so no pressure at all. Right, no time to hang about. Next up, it's the turn of the women.
My name is Kate McCarthy. I'm 25 and I'm from Hamilton, New Zealand. I've been working as a full-time police officer. I work my training and lifestyle around my work schedule. Work sort of has to come first, but the cycling's been massive for me, so I like being able to go hard and for as long as I can and see if I can outdo the others. Yeah, I think I want to be a pro cyclist just to see how far I can really push myself in the sport, see what I can achieve. That, and I just think it would just be incredible, really. Travelling the world and racing my bike would be pretty cool.
My name is Eva Marie Hering. I'm 27 years old and I live in Munich, Germany. I am a doctor who is working at a health startup company doing preventive medicine. I just love to ride my bike. I love to race from the bottom of my heart, and that's why I think I can be a pro. Actually make me to the very end would be, just overwhelming. It would obviously change my whole life. I would move to a country which is hopefully so much warmer than here in Germany.
Nicole Coates, take 1. I've just graduated in the summer. I'm kind of at a crossroads now, and it would be the perfect time to have the opportunity to go straight into a pro contract. I grew up in a really sporty family. My brother's been doing cycling and road racing longer than I have, and we're very competitive with each other. The thing I love about cycling is the endorphins after a workout, knowing that you've just nailed it. I love that feeling. I go out in any weather, and my friends, they all think I'm crazy.
I'm Navy February. I am 18 years old and I live in Boronia, Victoria. I'm a uni student studying exercise and sports science. Surrounded by trees, wildlife too. You probably see kangaroo or two, or probably more than wallaby out when you're riding. Tiffany Cromwell is actually my role model. I went up for a ride with her. It would have been 6 years ago now. I was just fangirling the whole ride, like, oh my God, this is Tiffany Cromwell. So to be competing for a contract in her team is just amazing.
My name is Natalia Franco. I am 25 years old and I'm from Medellin, Colombia. I am finishing my master's degree in sports psychology. I think what inspired me to become a cyclist was that I'm very competitive. I did a lot of activities growing up. I was in music and dance. I played volleyball for like 10 years. But cycling was just something different to me. It was the most rewarding, just knowing different people, getting to travel. And it's just very special to connect with people in meaningful ways just through the bike.
Now, one of the finalists you saw there was Eva Marie Herring, a super strong contender who picked up an illness during the week, and after 5 days of competition, it finally got the better of her last night, and she sent us this message.
It's just super hard because I feel like I've messed up my dream right now, and like my mind is ready, but my body isn't, and yeah, but it's just like, yeah, I need to prioritize my health right now.
Now, unfortunately, Eva hasn't been cleared to carry on and so has had to pull out from the finals with only a day to go. Now, obviously, we want to make the health and well-being of our finalists our very top priority, and we're very sad to see Eva go, but wish her the very best and a speedy recovery. Now, we've got 4 exciting finalists all battling for that One Pro contract. Race number 1 for the women is off soon. We're going to have a very quick word with Rolf Aldag because they're in the pens and ready to roll. Rolf, it's been an amazing week so far, so much to look at, but what in particular, in terms of qualities, are you looking to unearth from these riders today?
Well, I think Christoph said it already before. So the mental strength will be really, really important. And I think, you have to show like that you adapt really, really quick on the needs of the race. I think that type of racing is not in particular in their best talents, but they have to adjust to it. And that mental pressure that they go through. Because, keep in mind, and we have to repeat it over and over, this is not like one race out of 50 a year. It's that one race that counts and changes their life. So I think that how they deal mentally with it and then get back to this cool head, this cool thinking to adjust their strategy is super important.
Thanks very much, Rolf. We'll be chatting to you, Dan, a little bit later on. So enough of the hype. It's time to start racing once more with your commentators, Dave Towell and Hannah Walker.
Welcome back to Harrogate. We're in Yorkshire for the women's race now. This format was fantastic. I love it, although we are hearing, as well as everyone around the world, that Eva Marie Herring is not taking the start. So it'll be 4 riders to watch, but plenty to talk about with these 4 here, Hannah. It's an interesting group of riders from around the world representing 3 continents with the 4 riders. Can't do too much better than that. So here we are rolling out now. I guess, should we start with Kate McCarthy? You were saying off air that she was a rider to watch out here, a punchy rider. It's going to be interesting to see, could she upset the apple cart? Because it looks like after everything that we've done up till now, Neve and Natalia have stood out. A fantastic ride yesterday on Alpe d'Huez Zwift from Neve. That was something else. So throw it over to you, Hannah. The 4 riders, again, missing Eva here. That's a bummer.
Yeah, a huge shame for Eva Herring, the German rider who's had to drop out due to illness. So massive shame with only 1 day to go, and obviously the health and well-being of the riders is paramount. But down to 4 riders. If we just take a look at who we've got and in which jersey, Kate McCarthy, the New Zealander, in the yellow and black jersey. We've got Neve Bradbury in the green jersey, just sitting at the back here, the young Australian rider. We've got Natalia Franco from Colombia in the blue, white and black Zwift jersey. Then we have the British rider Nicole Coates in the red and black striped kit, just sitting nicely in second wheel here. But Kate McCarthy, I think on this course will be very, very good. She's a punchy rider. She has got into cycling through her boyfriend Dylan, who is a former track world champion. So on a race like this, in a points race where you need to know and need to be able to recover quickly, I think Kate could be very, very good.
Well, we'll have our first sprint coming up. Same format as you just saw with the men. The points go 3 deep, scored 3 for the first woman over the line, 2 for second, and 1 for third. We'll have 4 of those sprints until we get to just past 15K, and then double points, 6, 4, and 2 for that final sprint. Now, I am hearing in the cycling community people saying that Neve Bradbury has the potential to be the next big thing. We could be looking at a phenomenon in the making. It's a really interesting story of how cycling and racing connects to the community. And Neve it's well documented that she's a big fan of Tiffany Cromwell. Tiffany has been on the vanguard of Australian racing for quite a while. Not only has she been talented, but she's been one of the riders who has a voice in the sport, has a real seat at the table, if you would, for where professional women's cycling is going. So it's got to be really neat for Tiffany to look at a rider like Neve and then hearing people saying that this rider has some real talent, like next level talent. Natalia Franco, the Colombian rider, she's down in Medellin, Colombia right now, but she's actually a PhD candidate up in Tennessee, where she goes to school at the University of Tennessee. So she's got that amazing mix of brain power, physical ability, determination, and courage. So Hannah, that's a look at a couple of the riders. I found it fascinating that Kate McCarthy is a 25-year-old police officer in Hamilton, New Zealand as well. And she's actively a police officer. I mean, she has her own police car parked out front. This is she's all business.
She certainly is, and I think for her, you know, she works the shift pattern, 6 days on, 4 days off. She also works nights as well. She has, as you said, her own police car. I think got her influence to join the police force from her dad, who's a senior sergeant. So you know that's influenced her decision, but also the flexibility of the job, having the 6 days on, 4 days off, you know, lends itself very well to get some solid training in.
I'm sure that she loves Zwift on those days when she's on, but she still needs to train too. So here we go. The racing's going to be hot and heavy out here. So we talked about Nicole Coates, is the rider out of Malmesbury, United Kingdom. Another one of the very young riders here, 21 years old. But it looks like, so we're going to start with some points here, distributing them 3, 2, and 1. And after yesterday's tough ride up the Alpe to Zwift, it looks like some new names coming forward. You called it, Hannah. Great job. I'm proud to call you my colleague. It's going to be McCarthy taking the points with Neve Bradbury in second, and then Natalia Franco in third. So, excuse me, let me get that right. McCarthy, Bradbury, and Coates in third. I apologize. So that's a look there. That tells you a lot. It really does. Hannah, from your experience racing, you can't fake it in any of the sprints, but everybody's going to be giving their best effort. So that's a real litmus test, if you will. That'll ultimately be our finish line that we're crossing now. So we'll go back and forth, scoring points again back at the old line with until we get to the final. But Hannah, that sprint tells us a lot. Bradbury might just be the top rider out here today if things keep going her way.
It certainly does, and the way that McCarthy opened that one up, she went early, she got the jump on the other riders. Natalia Franco, the only rider of the 4, not scoring any points, so she'll now have to start thinking, how will I be able to get some points on the board? How will I be able to show myself? It's worth noting Neve Bradbury, much more suited to the climb, so something like Bologna, the time trial, the hilly time trial later on will suit them much more than this flatter, punchier course. However, this lends itself to Kate McCarthy and Nicole Coates, that they can show what they've got in this points race.
Yeah. I agree, Hannah. You want to make hay. They were talking about that during some of the Swift Academy broadcasts that I saw about how to be in the World Tour, you really can't have any weakness because you'll be exposed and you'll just never be a part of the show. So these riders have to be incredibly diverse, well-rounded, and then specialize in one distinct part of cycling, like sprinting or climbing or cobbles or whatever it might be. But you really got to be the entire package to even show up on the stage. So it's going to be interesting with 4 riders here. I mean, it's even 5 is such a small group. 4, it's like logarithmically decreasing the size of the group. Is now you can see what's happening with every other rider. I mean, you can hear the breathing. Well, I guess you can't in this format because we're on Zwift. But the concept is that nobody can hide out here. And this is immediately, I would look at Natalia Franco, the Colombian rider, and think that she's going to be motivated. She's got the ability here. She's, you think of Colombians, Hannah, and you traditionally think of climbers, but that's not always the case. And she is certainly a rider that has that diverse skill set.
She does. Exceptional climber, but a very, very talented and fearless descender as well. So to have someone like that on your team with, if she was to win the Zwift Academy, you know, it's a huge asset to have someone who's confident in the peloton, who's not afraid to really get involved in the tricky races, to be there on the descents to help your teammates, the likes of Kasia Niewiadoma. So I think for Natalia Franco, having that fearless style of riding to be within a peloton is something that also the management who will be choosing the winner of the Zwift Academy will certainly be looking to, as well as the physical attributes of these riders.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Hannah, when you talk about physical attributes, how the mental part of this process. We mentioned the speed dating that went on. I thought that was a perfect way to put it, because what you're really trying to do, it's impossible to get to know someone in depth in 15 minutes, but you can get a feel for what kind of a person that you have in front of you for sure. And a lot of that, I mean, as someone who's been on pro teams yourself, you realize it's not just your team, it's really the whole peloton that you spend a tremendous amount of time with, but especially the riders on your squad. And let's take a look. Is it going to be McCarthy again? Well, I have a feeling that Bradbury's going to grab that one and even the score at the top of the table here after our second sprint. Neve Bradbury is a phenom, no doubt about it. So that is going to tie things up there. Natalia Franco gets up on the board here, so everybody scored at least a point. Well, here we go. It's a Donnybrook going on in Harrogate, Yorkshire, United Kingdom now, because this is going to be fun. You know that McCarthy wants to make a statement. You know that, Hannah. And beating Neve Bradbury here is going to be one tough row to hoe.
It certainly is. Neve Bradbury just seems to be able to do it all. She's got that punch. She can climb extremely well. She knows how to read the race. At only 18 years of age, studying at Deakin University in Melbourne, she is a twin, as we can see her there in her pain cave, almost not breaking a sweat there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some people are cut out for this, no doubt about it. Now, so and Neve gets some style points as well, as this is one calm, cool, and collected rider. You know, modeling Tiffany Cromwell was not a bad idea at all. When you look at the pro habits, you know, the ability to project a positive attitude, Neve is really winning some fans. We've had, Hannah, you look back through the roll call of Zwift Academy winners, it's a list of great women. Speaking of particularly the women's side of things, Leah Thorvaldsen remains an active part of the community, a beloved rider, to say the very least. Ella Harris, is there a cooler personality in pro cycling than Ella Harris? I don't think so. I mean, that New Zealander is just a pure joy to be around. And I know everybody on our staff at Zwift has loved meeting Ella. No doubt about it. I have a feeling that if she does win, that Neve Bradbury is going to fit right into that roll call of champions.
Yeah, certainly agree. And as you said before, I think doing the speed dating with some of the professional riders, Alexis Ryan, Alice Barnes, Tiffany Cromwell, Hannah Ludwig, to ask them the questions, and Kasia Nieuwedama, to ask the girls the questions, ask these riders who they could potentially be teammates with, just to get a feel of their personality, how they are off the bike, also how they think. Are they a team player? Are they all in to go for that team goal? Or are they quite a rider who likes to think of themselves? So trying to get to know these riders through this virtual platform of Zwift, it's very important. And I think the riders, the professional riders, are able to get a real sense of who they like to have on their team, who's got the all-round capabilities.
So interesting, Hannah. How do you stand out in an individual sport and at the same time project and prove that you're a team player? That's a very tough proposition. Cracking that code is something that just about every pro cyclist has to do, because a lot of riders are there to do a job for a leader on the team. And that's really what we're talking about here. They need to understand that you get what we're talking about, because it's a very complex world when you talk about what goes on in the World Tour. And I love the fact that these riders are all up to the challenge, no question. So let's run through again who we've got in front of us, as we did have to scratch Eva Marie Hering this morning. And unfortunately, the rider out of Munich, Germany, you can only imagine what they've been through, Hannah, with the Zwift Academy. This has just been a relentless pursuit, day after day. You're meeting up, you're being evaluated. Good grief, you're even having to speed date.
It certainly is, and the culmination of the week, just to make the finals, let's not forget, the fatigue, the stress the riders have got to go through. Are they in the frame to win this professional contract as the sprint starts to open up? Neve Bradbury opening this one up again. Kate McCarthy, 11.6 watts per kilo. She's coming up to the back wheel of Neve Bradbury. Is she going to make it in time before the finish line and just nab those points? No. Neve Bradbury holds on and takes the 3 points. Looks like the 2 points go to Kate McCarthy, and Natalia Franco again picking up the one by the looks of things.
Boy, it's turning into a two-woman battle now, like watching two gladiators squaring off in the middle of the Colosseum, as these two are clearly separating themselves from the rest of our field here. Franco keeping her head above water. She will score another point, but you can see that the story is really going to be, can Neve Bradbury really make a clean sweep of it now? Because she has been phenomenal in the run-up. It's not just the collective workouts that they've done, but what she did in Innsbruck and then backing that up at the Alpe d'Huez Zwift. She's absolutely the rider to beat. That puts a huge target on her back, and I tell you what, Neve is like a honey badger. She don't care. It doesn't matter if there's a target on her back. She's still going to go out there, and she's now picked up 2 of the 3 sprints. So I guess, Hannah, we're at the business end now. If you are McCarthy, and your heart has to go out to Kate McCarthy. What a fighter this 25-year-old is, and she knows the champion standard. I saw you noting that Dylan, her boyfriend, is a world champion, so they know what it's like to win around her neighborhood. That's for sure. So Kate's going to be wanting to channel that. That's Kate McCarthy we're embedded with now. Throw it back to you, Hannah.
Yeah, I mean, Kate McCarthy, she got into cycling because of Dylan. He got her into the sport, and instantly started to really get the cycling bug. She's been cycling for 2.5 years after some convincing, and of course, 2.5 years later, she's in the Zwift Academy finals, potentially going to get this professional contract.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at how different that is, where if you've been around professional racing, there is one of the sweetest things that you see are the kids that come to the races, whether looking to get a water bottle autographed or get a cap from one of the teams or some jelly beans. The kids being there is what gives racing its charm. And Neve was that kid. She was showing up at the Tour Down Under, with her family. She's a twin. So I always wonder what the other twin is up to in these situations as well. But when you talk about Neve, it's certainly interesting to know that she has had a love for cycling for a long time. It's very rare that you have someone who loves the sport who happens to be so gosh darn good at it, because that's very bizarre. Usually the people who love cycling aren't really that great at it. Those who are great at it don't love it that much. So it's a bizarre world when you find that all in one person.
Yeah, well, you know, Neve got into cycling when she was 12. Her dad used to race back in the day. So cycling from a young age and really getting that bug and having that passion, I think when you're watching your family race and doing and going to watch the races, the likes of the Tour Down Under, it's just ingrained into you. And I think when you have that knowledge from a young age, you're watching bike racing, you're also picking up the tactics when you're younger. So now, 6 years on, Neve Bradbury is putting into practice what she's been learning over the past few years.
Yeah, she looks like she's watching a rerun of the Great British Bake Off right now and is just chilled out. This kid doesn't even break a sweat. She's breathing through her nose, Hannah. That's a real talent. I'm going to go with our friend Greg and say that we might have identified a superstar with this Zwift Academy. Our friend Matt Stevens has got to be pretty chuffed with the way things are going out there this year. All right, Hannah, so we've got another sprint before we get to double point finale coming up. This is it now, to tell you the truth. Now, again, no matter what happens in this sprint, it's not over. But certainly, Neve can put herself into an almost unbeaten. Here she goes. Now, here goes McCarthy, toe-to-toe, like Godzilla and Mothra battling off the coast of Tokyo, Japan. But it looks like now it's going to be, oh, man, Neve Bradbury is next level, holding off McCarthy, who's hungry for it. All right, Hannah, that looks like it is Neve's world. We're just living in it.
We certainly are. Kate McCarthy came alongside her. It was close on the line, almost a photo finish, but Neve Bradbury able to hold off the New Zealander just across the water there from Neve Bradbury. But now for these two riders, they've got a gap to Coates and Franco, 5.5 seconds to be exact. So these two riders, really, in this race, in the points race, the way they're able to recover from the intensity, you know, they're head and shoulders above the other two riders in this format right now.
Yeah, and actually, I think they're going to make that crystal clear. That's going to be the final sprint. We just went past that line there, the Academy Road gantry. I don't know that these two let the others back. McCarthy, I mean, it doesn't really matter one way or the other, because these two have taken first and second in every sprint that we've had. That's 4 sprints up till now. So all of the points have gone to these two. Whether they get caught or not is really a moot point. It's going to be big points at the final, and that's going to be Kate McCarthy's final chance. The police officer out of New Zealand looking to make I guess it's a citizen's arrest. She's not on duty right now, but looking to, it's interesting that you've got these two riders from down under, but they are going to all come back together now. So this is going to be the full 4 that started here, as Nicole Coates and Natalia Franco are back. So we'll reset with these 4 heading into our final sprint here. The racing's not done. We'll be heading to Bologna in Italy for our virtual time trial. I love this format. We've done this on Zwift Community Live. It's extremely cool, where there's no drafting. So all the riders are racing against each other in a time trial mode, but they can see each other. So it makes pacing very, very different. When you don't know how well you're doing, it changes a lot of things in your head.
It certainly does. And I can only imagine now for Coates and Franco, what they must be thinking when they were 5 seconds adrift from Bradbury and McCarthy there. How much stress they were under, having to, not panic to get back to the two leaders, to get back in the frame of things, to be able to score the points. But on the other hand, McCarthy and Bradbury able to just rest up a little bit. They have that upper hand. They're out the lead, and we see Kate McCarthy in her pain cave. Again, when you look at the heart rate, 159 beats per minute.
Yeah, there's room to grow there. They haven't hit the ceiling. Now, if you look back on what got us to this point, Natalia Franco, on paper, the rider out of Medellin, Colombia, would have to be, I'd say, the second most accomplished here. She was second on the Alpe d'Huez after leading on most of the climb. Niamh was just surgical in her maneuver there at the finale to go right past Franco and win. But Natalia held on for second. That day it was Nicole Coates who ended up in third with Kate McCarthy in fourth. So Kate McCarthy is the rider that you'd say has been improving her trajectory here today, certainly moving up. But the one rider, it's undeniable now that Niamh Bradbury has got superstar. I mean, she's got Olympic gold medals in her DNA. I'm starting to think this kid is a huge talent, and much like Lionel, I think that she's going to want to win this final sprint to walk off and say, "How you like them apples?"
I certainly do, and just to prove this is how strong I am, this is how I can race, this is how I can recover from the
Yes.
multiple efforts. I'm going to do it on the flatter courses, I'm going to do it on the climbs. I'm an all-round rider. I'm tactically astute, I'm physically capable of winning this professional contract with Canyon SRAM, and this is what I can do.
Absolutely. Well, you know what, Hannah? You've been around champions for a lot of your career. You know what it's like. When you're a winner, you're a winner. And, I mean, a guy like Eddie Merckx, he liked to win at dinner, he liked to win handshakes, and he liked to win bike races. There's just nothing that they don't like to win. And certainly a final sprint, and even though she doesn't have to win the final sprint to win this event today, there's no question in my mind that she's going to do exactly that as Niamh Bradbury is on the attack. She is hit out with authority, and this is going to put a lot of pressure on the other riders as they're going to run out of real estate very quickly. Kate McCarthy is going to try to close this one down. She's going to weld it back together. I don't know if it's going to be enough here. What an effort. Now, Niamh Bradbury, meet the new boss of women's cycling. Niamh should hold on. The finish is going to come up. McCarthy says no. McCarthy's trying to come around. Does Niamh respond? No. McCarthy goes up and over the top. What a nice ride from Kate McCarthy. I tell you what, that shows you she is all heart as she comes around Niamh Bradbury, although it's not going to be enough in the final points tally. And Hannah, I think that's how we keep score ultimately, with Kate picking up the 6 and Niamh for 4 here. The real story is going to be what happens on the big table. And there it is. So Niamh Bradbury by 1 point. Kate McCarthy, you impressed a lot of folks out there as she'll be the silver standard in Harrogate. Natalia Franco keeps fighting, ends up in 3rd. Nicole Coates in 4th. So there's a look at the women's points race as part of the Zwift Academy. That did turn into a Donnybrook, a 1-point victory for the Australian Bradbury. I'll throw it back to you, Matt, in the Academy studio.
Thanks very much indeed, Dave. Another scintillating race. Let's have a quick word with the winner by 1 solitary point. Niamh, can just see you warming down there. How was that? You had to work very, very hard.
Sorry, I can't quite hear you.
Niamh, yeah. You had to work. Okay, let's just give her a moment to put her earpiece in. She is.
I'm
the other
here
side
now.
of the world. Here we go. Niamh, wonderful ride. You got it by 1 solitary point, but you had to work very, very hard.
I definitely did. I thought I lost it in the end for the double points. So I was, pretty happy with that. So I won my 1 point. Kate definitely made it hard for me.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed. You guys need to rest up. I'll be speaking to you later. Well done. Some wonderful racing there. And, of course, we're now moving ever closer to our judges making their final decisions. So, Zwift Academy has been running around the world all week. So here's what happened in the first 2 days.
Your first challenge. Take us on one of your favorite rides.
And I want you to explain to us how you use this for your own benefit, for your own training, to challenge yourself. So get out there and enjoy the ride.
Good luck, enjoy your ride.
I guess it's a good way to start a week.
Sounds pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited about that challenge.
Yeah, we'll go around the Ring of Fire then. My favourite loop to do.
All right, let's get started.
That's right. ride's basically my bread and butter.
I love just getting out and riding and sitting at a good threshold, and we've got some cool roads around here, so I'm excited.
It's just my favourite training route to do. Great climbs, and you come back along the strides, pretty much like a roller coaster, so you don't have to try.
After all the endurance rides were complete, we had a nice surprise for the athletes, with details of the next challenge delivered by a very familiar face.
You all have some kilometers in your legs already.
Now it's time for the second part of today's challenge.
In 2019, I won the Amstel Gold Race.
In 2019, I won Amstel Gold Race.
And my data from the last hour has been put into Zwift.
My data from the final hour has been put into Zwift to create another challenge.
The only thing you have to do is to keep up with me.
Keep up and have fun.
And maybe you'll be my teammate for the next year. Good luck. I don't need luck, I need legs.
I only got to keep up with like the best rider in the world, so.
Yeah, it's really motivating to do like a session from her actual data.
It's going to be really fun.
I think it'll be a good challenge, but I don't think it'll be fun.
With their legs already fatigued, they were soon underway.
All I got to do is keep up.
The aim of this challenge was to tire our finalists prior to the high-intensity workout of keeping up with the pros' Amstel Gold race data. And indeed it was high intensity, as the rides of both Cassia and Mathieu are considered two of the greatest rides of all time. For Lionel in Belgium, the temperature change between inside and out added an extra dimension of difficulty.
My body is still feeling the cold from outside. I was okay, and I start feeling the cramp coming.
Natalia in Colombia had the nearest thing to a crash that can happen in Zwift when her bike came off the smart trainer. In the end, no one could beat the pros, but the commitment across the board was plain to see.
That was the hardest indoor session I've ever done.
I crumbled.
Cheers to Amstel Gold Race. Congratulations to Katja.
I can see stars. Thank you, Mathieu. Really appreciate.
I couldn't quite keep up with her. But she won, so I mean, could have gotten second.
A very fair point indeed from Neve. Well, I must admit, I do like looking at those pain faces, but I'll have a quick chat ahead of the next event to Philip. Philip, what are you looking for? I mean, it's the individual time trial now for the men. What specifically are you looking for today?
Oh, basically, we're looking for confirmation after the challenges the riders have already had over the past week. We kind of get to see who will be the main contenders for the ticket to Alpecin Phoenix. And what I would like to see is confirmation of that, because if now surprises still come up in the last challenge, it is already very difficult for us to make the right choice. But if now someone comes up and surprises us really, then it's even getting a lot harder for us.
Thanks very much indeed, Philip. Really nice insight there. Okay, well, strap yourselves in for the final men's challenge of Zwift Academy 2020. And taking us through the action, as ever, is your comms team of Dave Toll and Hannah Walker.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. We have jumped over to Bologna, Italy for a course that my colleague Hannah Walker knows quite well. We've got Damien Clayton out front. He's out of Barnsley, Sheffield, United Kingdom, having a solid ride. Now, it's an interesting format, Hannah, where we're racing a time trial, so there's no drafting, but the riders can all see each other in real time. You could never pull this off in real life.
We certainly couldn't. This is a mass start time trial. There's no drafting in-game at all, but you can get a real sense of where your rivals are at. And Damien Clayton, we saw before in that points race. We've seen him in real life racing as well, how good he is at time trialing. So really, this is his forte. This is his get-up.
Well, and it's interesting. So not to pander to you, Hannah, but there's something about time trialing in the United Kingdom. I would have to think that this discipline was really refined in, is it England or all of the United Kingdom? But definitely historically, the United Kingdom has a different relationship with time trialing on bicycles than really anywhere else in the world. And you see things like that 10 mile or the 25 mile or the 100 mile, the records that are set, obviously using that old money, the miles versus kilometers. But that history, it seems to remain with guys like Bradley Wiggins, etc. But Damian Clayton living up to it right now, as we can see that his advantage, if we were to stop the race, and I should note that we have this at 9.5 kilometers of racing. So we're pretty deep into it at this point, as he's only got 3.5K of racing remaining here. And actually it might, yeah, that sounds about right, as Clayton doing a great job. Talk about the course, Hannah.
He certainly is doing Clayton's doing a wonderful job. But this route, 8 kilometers in length, and starts in Bologna. And if you know, actually quite a flat start as we began at the Piazza Maggiore. That's in the main square in the heart of Bologna. But we'll go along the cobbled road before we start to start the main part of the climb at the sharp right-hand hairpin at the Arco del Monticello. And then when you'll start to go up halfway up the climb, you hit another hairpin, you go underneath that stone arch, you see the sanctuary of Madonna del San Luca, and then you're almost there on the climb. So it's really a race where you have to pace yourself, but actually try and make up as much time as possible on the section of road that really suits you, because if you go too deep into the red zone on this flatter section, you really are going to pay for it on the hillier section. And just look at Jay Vine and Lionel Villasin. They're sticking to each other, watching each other, and of course, no drafting in this time trial, but they have caught Damian Clayton. So we have 3 riders all at the moment on the same time. Kirkhart and Moores, 11 seconds and 13 seconds in a respectively.
I mean, it's almost terrifying when you think about how deep riders will dig when they have a target like this. We're going back and looking at Joachim Kirkhart, the Dutch rider, but this format is so incredibly exciting. This could revolutionize time trialing, to tell you the truth, as we are into it now with the men. You can see that this is going to be now, when you look at the 3 riders on the front, Jay Vine has to want this more than any human being wants anything on planet Earth right now. After what Lionel Villasin did, he needs to make a comeback here in front of the selectors for the Alpecin Phoenix contract. This means everything to the 25-year-old Australian here. There's no time trial, I would say, matters more to an Australian than what he's doing right now. Here we are with Ollie Moores, and you can see Ollie turning himself into a wattage cottage right now as he's sitting over 5 watts per kilo, Hannah. He's all in.
He certainly is exceptional, and we get a nice look of the Canyon Speed Max bike as well, which all riders are on the same equipment, the same bike here for this time trial.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things, Hannah.
It seems as Lionel.
Very interesting. This is the front that we're looking at with Jay and Lionel. I think that these two are just right now not pacing up each other, but it shows you how evenly matched they are. So I believe that the bikes that they are on are all going to have the same slipperiness factor. So as we take a look again, that's going to be Jay Vine, the Australian, with Lionel Villasin, who just won, but this is going to start the climb right here, right now. It is on like Donkey Kong, because this is where everything else gets thrown out the window. You can either do it or you can't. Watch those numbers. They're popping red now, as both of these guys are very close to 8 watts per kilo, and it's going to stay there for a while. This is going to be a brutal 2 kilometers of racing to the finish line now.
It is, and Vine and Villasin are inseparable. When one rider starts to make that effort, the other one is able to match it. there really isn't a point. There's so much tension between these two riders because they are, match for match, hit for hit. They came into the final day of this Zwift Academy with a win apiece. Then Lionel Viasin has taken a win, as we saw just previously in that points race. What has Jay Vine got to be able to take another victory ahead of Viasin? Got this 25-year-old from Canberra to try and take that pro contract with Alpecin Fenix.
I am glad that I'm not a selector here, because I would have to say that one of these two guys is going to be so incredibly disappointed, because they both have done everything that you could expect. They're on that threshold of the biggest moment in their professional lives, and it just speaks to what sport is all about. And with the joy, there's heartbreak. It looks like now, is Jay Vine riding away? This is exactly what he needed to do. He is doing it. This man is flogging himself like a rented mule that's due back in 5 minutes. He is absolutely showing reckless. So this is what it's like, folks, when someone really, really wants something. When you go all in and you commit to your dream, Jay Vine is doing that. It gives me goosebumps to think about what's going through his mind right now. He has been in a death match with Lionel Viasin, the 31-year-old Belgian. It's been a slugfest. It's gone back and forth, but this might be the body blow that's going to do it for Jay Vine. He's going to run out of real estate at some point. This will be Jay Vine's day if he can hold on, but Lionel Viasin is going to be turning himself absolutely inside out. This is a time trial. You can only do this on the World of Zwift, as there is no draft. Everybody's given a super slippery Canyon Aero bike to race on, so we level the playing field there. It's going to come down to ability. It no longer matters how you are in speed dating. It no longer matters anything outside of your will to win. And Jay Vine deserves a hearty Aussie, oi, right now, because this guy is absolutely killing it, Hannah. What a ride from Jay Vine.
He certainly is, and you can just see, when someone wants something so badly, he quit his work. He used to work for the federal government in the medical supplies. His contract ended in the end of 2019, and since then he's just made this decision with his wife Bree that he's going to go full time. He's going to live that pro life, although not a professional yet. He's in order to try and get to the pro level. So he's going to do everything possible, the way he eats, breathes, and sleeps cycling, to try and be the best he can. And, if he was to win this, you could just see the hunger he has to try and win this contract.
Well, there's so much that goes into this. You're looking at two absolutely awesome riders, but at the end, it's not just these races. It's going to be a lot more than that. It's an incredibly tough decision. It's going to be personality, physiology, psychology, all of these things that make up a champion. And, Hannah, not just a champion, but a good teammate, someone that brings out the best in others. I think we all know that morale rider, and morale rider is going to be a big part of this one. Can Jay Vine's enthusiasm outplay the determination and experience of Lionel Viasin? These selectors have a tough choice, but you know what? That's what life is all about, isn't it, Hannah? Is putting yourself in position to have a moment like this. Every one of these riders deserves incredible praise for the courage that they've shown. This is awesome.
It is, and it's been a long process in this Zwift Academy, but as you said, it's going to be a hugely tough decision. Of course, they want to show themselves in this time trial here in Bologna. They wanted to show themselves in the points race in Harrogate, but ultimately, it's the whole package. How have they conducted themselves over the last week? How have they shown themselves to the selectors? What are they able to provide off the bike as well? How will they fit into that team atmosphere? If you look at Alpecin Fenix and the team spirit within there, how everyone, how they gel together, it's important that rider is able to come into the team, to slot themselves in and really be as a unit and be able to work with the teamwork as well.
Yeah, it's a challenging code to crack when you talk about joining a World Tour team. It's one thing to join the team when you're transferring from another pro squad, but this whole thing is definitely a challenge, that's for sure. Not sure what happened here now. Unfortunately, a power dropout for Jay Vine. That's heartbreaking. But again, it's important to remember, don't start losing your minds because the point was made by Jay Vine. We certainly won't hold that against him. And this selection is based on criteria that's much more than just winning this race here today. But Lionel Viasen will benefit from that. On paper, he's going to be our winner.
That's a huge shame for Jay Vine. Absolute heartbreak. And this is worth noting. This is the first time the winner of this Zwift Academy will go then into the Pro Conti level in the men's. Viasen coming across the line. On paper, he is first in this time trial in Bologna. And Damien Clayton will soon be seeing the back wheel of Jay Vine. But a huge shame from the rider from Canberra there.
Yeah, that's a moral victory, I would say, for Jay Vine out here today. Yeah, I mean, the man who wins this selection, and boy, again, what a tough choice it's going to be, is going to be racing on the Alpecin Phoenix team with none other than Mathieu van der Poel. That's heady stuff, that's for sure. That's quite a guy to say is your teammate. No doubt about it. So for the women, that's coming up here. We'll have that the same quest to join the Canyon SRAM team. So Jay Vine has just crossed the line now. It must have been an internet issue there. So Jay Vine finishing up as we're just about done and dusted for our guys out in our Bologna time trial. We do have the women to look forward to. Well, an interesting turn of events there for the finale. All things will be taken into account, I'm sure. Ollie Moores.
Huge heartbreak, but as you say,
thanks, Hannah. So, yeah, the heartbreak is a part of this sport, that's for sure. And I guess you hear so many of the sayings in cycling, but it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times that you get up that we talk about. And I'm sure that these guys will all be better for the experience. As we wrap things up for the men here now, and we'll be taking a look at our results, our top five. And there it is. It was 14:27, the winning time on top of the table for the Belgian Lionel Viasen. Australian Jay Vine, well, you saw what happened. He fought. He's going to end up in second place there. It's Damien Clayton in third, Ollie Moores in fourth, and the Dutchman, Joachim Kerkaert, rounds out our top five. So, well, that was some exciting racing out there. One thing about the Zwift platform is they're doing things with time trialing that we never thought were possible, creating even more exciting racing out there. So as we say goodbye to the men in Bologna, I'm going to send it back to the studio with Matt Stevens.
Thanks very much, Dave. For Sterling Comms, as ever, we're going to have a quick chat with Jay. Jay, disappointment there for you, mate. You had a technical dropout, but let's be honest, everybody knows you'd have won that. Only 300 metres ago, you had that technical dropout. Just tell me and describe to the list of viewers how deep you went, mate.
I emptied myself pretty well. I thought that was going to be a really good time, but you know, you get this in road racing as well. At least in a road race, if I'd flattered there, I would have just kept riding. But you can't do much with a glitch like that. I wish I'd had the thought to pull the cup plug out a bit sooner. Might have been able to cross a bit closer.
Okay, Jay, thanks very much. Pragmatic as ever. Great stuff and great ride by everybody there. That was a tough finale. Now, as I explained earlier on, for the first time in our history, the Zwift Academy is being held remotely around the world with our finalists competing through a week of intense challenges on their local roads and on Zwift before today's live final. Now, this week-long process isn't just about picking the rider that is first past the post in one or even all of the physical challenges. The teams are looking for the person that will fit in best to their current group of riders and make a valuable contribution to their team. So who they are matters as much as what they can do. Now, with the endurance rides and Amstel Gold Challenge under their belts and the data analysed by the teams, it was time to test the minds of our finalists. So what better way to do that than letting the pro riders ask the tough questions themselves?
Hi, Damien.
Hiya.
Hi. Lovely to meet you.
My question is, what is your strength, you think, in cycling?
The strengths would be like climbing.
Explosive rider in short climbs.
What would you say are your strengths on the bike?
Probably my ability to ride a shoulder.
Climbing.
What would be the one thing you take with you to training camp?
Big tub of peanut butter.
Oh, it's probably going to be my wife, Brie.
Of course, my bike.
If you had to give up coffee or dessert, which would you choose?
I had my first coffee this morning.
I won't lie, I do like a good pudding.
What would be your favorite karaoke tune?
It'd be It's My Life by Bon Jovi. I can really get down to that song.
A Justin Bieber song, something like that. I like his music.
Yeah, okay. I see you studied the team already.
Would you rather be able to see 10 minutes of your future or somebody else?
10 minutes of my future or somebody's?
Yeah.
Depends. If this will be Saturday before the final, then me.
Now, fitting in with your new teammates is important, but following team orders on race day matters even more. So, on day 4, our Zwift Academy finalists joined the pro riders from Alpecin Fenix and Canyon SRAM in a race simulation challenge to see how they responded to instructions over the team radio whilst being put through their paces on the tough Innsbruck course.
Welcome to the next challenge. Today you have the opportunity to ride with some of the Alpecin Fenix pro riders. The goal of today is just see how good you guys react on orders of a DS in a race. Okay guys, and off we go. Jochem, I would like you to attack from the bottom of the climb and just try to get a bit of advantage. Come on Jochem. The other guys of the group, just keep the group together. Yeah, you're doing good Jochem. Damien, try to attack. 18 Ks to go. One guy in the front. Jay, do you think you can close the gap? This is it. The last 14 Ks. You can race as hard as you can. Be smart. Come on Jay, go for it, go for it. Come on Lionel, you are still there. You are still there. Great job guys. Great job.
The women's challenge was set by Judge Dan Bigham, who was DS for the day, bringing along with him 5 Canyon SRAM riders: Alice Barnes, Ella Harris, Hannah Ludwig, Jess Pratt and Alexis Ryan. Once again, the challenge involved responding to team radio instructions, with riders taking it in turn to attack and chase down, and seeing some huge efforts on the climbs. Now, when the time came for the finalists to race, Neve broke away for the win, with Kate 6 seconds behind, with taking the sprint from Natalia. Breathless stuff. So Neve and Lionel crossed the line in first place in that particular DS challenge. Right then, back to tonight, and before we head to our next final race of the evening, let's have a little chat with Neve. Now Neve, you've got a nice puffer jacket on there, but just describe to us how tough and how intense that DS challenge was.
It was interesting being told what to do. Going up to the front and trying to chase someone from the front with the team. Trying to work as a team is a lot harder on Zwift because you can't see if they're dropping off, where they are. But yeah, it was so much fun. I had to dig so hard at the end there.
Great stuff. I mean, this is the final event of this year's Zwift Academy. We all know it's called the Race of Truth, Neve. How do you prepare for a time trial?
Warm up a little bit. Time trials aren't my specialty. I haven't done too many of them. Yeah, I don't know. Eat, drink, get aero.
Eat, drink, get aero. Good advice there to anybody listening who wants to ride an effective time trial, that's for sure. Let's have another quick word with Natalia, who's keeping nice and cool with a wet rag on her head. Natalia, lovely to talk to you. What is the secret to the best preparation for a time trial?
Hi.
So Natalia.
Really good warm up. That's key.
And okay.
It's good to have
absolutely
the
great.
legs
Well,
open and be ready to go with the right mindset and ready to push hard.
Thanks very much indeed, Natalia. Of course, she's over in Colombia. There is a little bit of a lag there, but have a quick chat with Rolf. Rolf, heading into the final event now, it's not long until you guys have got to make this very, very tough decision. So what final page needs to be turned here to kind of find out a little bit more about these riders? What specifically, what attributes, qualities are you looking for?
Well, it's about not cracking now. I think we have seen great racing. Basically it was a need to confirm what she has done the days before. So the others have to challenge her. It has to be a turning point for them. And it's like riding under pressure now. And riding under pressure under full load is never really easy. And so we're looking forward to who can handle that best. Okay, quick question. Couple of questions for Dan. Dan, just generally speaking, how impressed have you been with the way that all of the athletes, all five of our finalists, I've only got 4 left, have applied themselves over the last week or so?
I've been incredibly impressed. The fact they've taken their opportunities whenever they've presented themselves and shown that they're willing to put themselves on the line. And Kate was a prime example of that just then in the points race. She knew that suited her and she went for it. She took it to an even. Yeah, it was a close battle. And, it's exactly what we want. We want to see riders showing what they're made of and what they're capable of.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. Just going to flick back. Thanks, Dan. Let's have a little word with Nicole, who's just warming up. There's a lovely plant pot in the background. Nicole, again, it's been such a tough week, Nicole. I mean, what are your personal preferences in relation to getting yourself in the zone for a TT?
I think just having a good mindset and believing in yourself. I think confidence is key.
And how about the accumulation of fatigue? How are the legs feeling after what's been a really, really tough week?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. They're quite tired.
And Kate, I mean, a lovely battle just a few minutes ago in the points race there. You clearly really got some fight. Have you enjoyed this whole process as hard as it's been?
Yeah, I have. It's been really good. Nice challenge, something different, doing it all from home, racing people around the world. But no, it's been awesome.
Okay, and one final question, Kate. What is the secret? What's the secret to a good time trial, do you think?
A good pacing strategy, really. Just knowing when to hold back and when to push, and not getting too excited too early.
Well, great stuff. Best of luck to all of you in this final challenge. It is an absolute brute, that flat start, then that kick up to the finish. So this, of course, is the last challenge of the 2020 Zwift Academy, where after this time trial, we'll be crowning our 2 winners. So for the final time, it's over to our marvellous commentary team of Dave Toll and Hannah Walker.
Welcome back to Bologna, Italy. Dave Toll here with Hannah Walker. And Hannah, get ready for a showdown out here. After what we saw from Kate McCarthy, the New Zealander, I'm expecting big things. She's clearly revved up and ready to challenge Neve Bradbury, who has been absolutely the gold standard out here. So we are off again, scratching the German rider Eva Marie Hering. Unfortunately, she came down with illness. So we'll have 4 riders. Unique format here. As the riders are racing a time trial, there's no draft, but obviously in real time, they can see each other, and Kate McCarthy is going to go out hard. So, Hannah, we had a chance while we were off air there to talk about some of the riders and where they're coming from and how unique it is to have Natalia Franco with us. Colombia is well known for their men professional cyclists going all the way back to the 70s and 80s, where they really made their mark in the world, but the women are where it's at now. And I loved what you were talking about, what Natalia, her perspective on this. Would you care to share more?
Yeah, well, the doctor in sports psychology, she wants to be an inspiration to all those girls who dream of having that pro contract in Latin America. And she was saying she's doing this Zwift Academy, she wants to win for herself, but also for all the other girls like her who've had the barriers and had to, she wants to give them hope to race in the future. And she's had so many people say to her, well, you're just a girl, you're from Colombia, you can't do this. But she believes all these barriers she's had to overcome have been put there that she's able to show how resilient she is, and it makes her want to prove them wrong, as she believes that the people who are honest and hardworking, they always come out on top. They're always the ones who win eventually. And I think for her, she's doing it for herself, but also all the other girls in Latin America. I think really inspiring way and story there for Natalia Franco.
So interesting, Hannah. What motivates these riders? These riders that we have in the Zwift Academy really are gladiators of Zwift, as they put themselves up against the biggest challenge that we've found in the sport, to commit to this process of trying to make the Canyon SRAM professional women's team. It's an ordeal, to say the least, and they've all risen to the task. Again, this is Franco that we're looking at, the Colombian. She's racing out of Medellin, Colombia. She spends a lot of time up in Knoxville, Tennessee, where she's going to school. 25 years old. She's right in the middle here. Is Neve Bradbury, the rider who's certainly made her mark in a major way. I mean, it's just been absolutely phenomenal to see how the Zwift Academy's been able to put a spotlight on this talented Australian at 18 years old. I mean, this is Sarah Gigante, who's only a year older, has been a junior world champion. I have a feeling that Neve is going to have some rainbow stripes in her career to look forward to at the trajectory that she is on. So this is going to be Nicole Coates that we're looking at right now. Nicole, also very young, the second youngest rider in the Zwift Academy this year, out of Malmesbury in the United Kingdom, as you can tell by that beautiful flag. But it's right now, you can look at those watts per kilo, and you can see that McCarthy holding on to a 1.3 second advantage. But, Hannah, the sting is in the tail with this course. Talk about that last 5K, because it changes dramatically at about 2K to go.
It certainly does. It's a relatively flat start to this course in Bologna, starting at the Piazza Maggiore. Then, after with around 3 kilometers to go, we take that right hairpin, and then it really starts to kick up. And this is where the brutal part of the climb really starts, and it doesn't let up until you cross that finish line. So it's about how are you able to pace yourself on this flatter section, not go too deep into the red zone, but still have enough left for that climb. Equally, if this is your forte on the flatter section, how much time can you take out of the other riders? Kate McCarthy currently leading this time trial by 1.5 seconds. Then we have Neve Bradbury, Natalia Franco, and Nicole Coates, 6.4 seconds in arrears. But Kate McCarthy keeping a consistent watts per kilo there with 4.6. So judging her effort very, very well.
I feel like the Grim Reaper in a Monty Python movie, but the bad news is, for McCarthy, is that Bradbury climbs like an angel. When that road goes uphill, she's going to make up time. So talk to me from the perspective of McCarthy. Are you just trying to build as much of a buffer as you can, make hay when it's in the field here, Hannah? Because you know that Bradbury's going to be coming for you once the road goes uphill.
She certainly is. Bradbury just is a rider who is able to dance on the pedals and make it look effortless, float up the climbs. And we've seen that, in Innsbruck, in the Alpe d'Huez Zwift as well. Then in that points race, she really is an all-round rider. I think for Kate McCarthy, this is a time trial. She needs to race her own race and not look too much towards the other riders, but just keep one eye on what's going on around you. There is no draft, despite having a mass start time trial.
It's more important, to be honest, that McCarthy holds on for second rather than wins here, because her trajectory, in my eyes, she has moved up into the second strongest rider in this field. Right now, she and Franco are kind of battling for that spot right below Neve, in my opinion. Again, my opinion is worth not much in this world, because ultimately it's going to be the selectors that decide who's going to be on that Canyon SRAM team. But it's certainly hard to deny the talent that is Neve Bradbury, and we're looking at her now starting to whittle away. That gap has gone from 2 seconds down to a little more than 1, and we'll see if Bradbury's going to start punching tickets. When it's punching is a good word, because Kate McCarthy is a punchy type rider. She would do very well in, let's say, the Ardennes type classics. A lot of up and down, a lot of turning, where Nicole Bradbury is like a cocktail napkin with an outboard motor attached to it. She's got this tiny chassis, this huge engine, and her watts per kilo, you're going to think there's something wrong with your computer when you look at those numbers. They're so high.
Exceptional. And as we've kept mentioning, this Zwift Academy Pro contract isn't just taken on these two races, the points race and the time trial, but as a whole, how these riders have conducted themselves, how they've performed over the week in the different challenges they've faced. For instance, the Sports Director Challenge on Thursday, where each of the riders was given instructions from the virtual race car in the radio from Dan Biggin, from Canyon SRAM. And Neve Bradbury, it was, the way she had to wait for the riders, it was slow down, Neve, she was so many watts, so head and shoulders above the others, and how she was able to accelerate instantly. As soon as she started to put that power down, she was able to open up the gap.
When you see a champion at a young age, it just is undeniable that they've got what it takes to go to the highest level. And this is a rider that's right on that cusp when you look at Kate McCarthy here. But I think now the reality that Bradbury is just going to be that level above is there's the green jersey now starting to, well, Kate McCarthy is used to being the one in the cop car chasing down the suspects. In this case, she's being chased down here as they've gone well past the middle point. Again, it's a quick time trial through Bologna here. They've got some climbing to do for the finale. That comes up in a little less than 1K. They'll start that uphill journey to the finish line. We're back in with Nicole Coates right now. This really gives you a feel for 191 beats per minute. That's a young, healthy heart that Nicole has, and she's using every last drop of blood she has to get that oxygen to those muscles, as that woman is an absolute workhorse. This is the Tête de la Course, or the Vanguard right now, as Kate McCarthy out of New Zealand on your screen, and she's actually starting to open it up on Bradbury a little bit. She's relentless, will not give in. There's no quarter asked for and no quarter given here in our Zwift Academy. This is the final of the finals that we've got right now for our women. Again, our four starters having at it: McCarthy, Bradbury, Franco, and Coates. And there's the catch being made right now.
And right on time, as soon as the climb is about to begin, Neve Bradbury onto the back wheel of Kate McCarthy. And this is the type of terrain where Bradbury really excels. It's going to be a battle upon battle, blow by blow between McCarthy and Bradbury here. And look at just with ease, such ease